Welcome to day 16. Thanks for being with us. We're just leaving Whitehorse, Yukon and traveling about 500 miles on the Alcan Highway to a beautiful bed and breakfast in British Columbia. Along the way, we're going to see some great wildlife, some of the best wildlife we've seen on the whole trip, and it surprised us. Here's a map of our journey through British Columbia. Watch the orange line and it'll show you the route. We'd never been to the northern stretch of British Columbia, and it was quite unusual. We saw these black bear, of course, and that never gets old. And then we ran into these things. Who expected to see big bison? These aren't the American bison. These things are huge. And they weren't going to be intimidated by anything or anyone. Dirt bath, anyone? We don't usually like to stay in bed and breakfast because we just like to keep to ourselves more, but this was quite the stay. There were a couple of professionals who had flown in for the guide service to hunt some sheep, which they were successful at doing, and we just enjoyed the scenery immensely. Here's some drone footage of the sunset there. Day 17, and we're off to Dawson Creek. It's about 370 miles. We headed east on the Alcan Highway and then south, and here it is. It's day 18, and we're heading all the way to Whistler, BC, a well-known ski resort area. Here's a view of some of that farmland in the area. We have over 630 miles to travel today, so we better skedaddle. How about some Canadian money? You want to look at that? I thought that was the most colorful stuff. It made Monopoly money look plain. The paper they use seems to be covered in plastic. Let's get back to the trip. More boring scenery stuff. Can you believe how amazing this is? There is just one thing to see after another in BC. arrived in Whistler before it got dark, and we treated ourselves to a nice place. They even had bears in the backyard for us. Here's a local schoolyard where we took some drone footage so you could see what the mountainside around Whistler looks like. The mountain in the background has a bunch of ski lifts carved through the tree line. There's zip lines, gondola rides, you can have spa day, and of course there's the famous underground McDonald's drive-thru. It's time for Lexi to play boomerang. This is a different kind of boomerang. You throw it and she brings it back to you. Whistler is a beautiful place and has a lot to see and do. I understand why families would want to be there during the winter and the summer. Today we're going 75 miles all the way over to Vancouver and then getting on the ferry and going to Victoria on Vancouver Island and then traveling up Washington coast to Aberdeen. Vancouver and Vancouver Island are one of our favorite places to visit. They're only a day drive from Oregon. The ferry systems have several routes to Vancouver Island, and there's a bunch of things on the island to see. We especially like Victoria, where you'll see a lot of historical buildings and you can ride on horse-drawn carriages and see IMAX theaters. They've got a beautiful museum in that town. And of course there's fantastic restaurants and shopping. If you're not on a tight budget, be sure to make reservations to have tea at the Empress Hotel. That's the famous hotel in the background. Get off the ferry at Port Angeles. Obviously, we went through Victoria and Vancouver Island all in less than one day, and I would not recommend that. It's worth a 2 or 3 day stay at least. Even though we had been there numerous times, it was just a reminder that we needed to get back. And here we are in Aberdeen already. We started out the day with drizzles and ended the day with beautiful sunshine. This was our last day of the trip. The coast is one of our favorite roads to take for obvious reasons. Here's the Columbia River and the bridge that goes over it to Astoria, Oregon. This is about a 3-mile trek across the mouth of the Columbia River. There's great sturgeon fishing right in this area. Here we are in Oregon, driving through a canopy of fog and drizzles. But you may not know what they say in Oregon. If you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes. This was a great way to end our 20-day excursion, and it just reminded us how thankful we are to live in Oregon. I'm also thanking you for watching our journey and staying with us. I put a little list together of the costs of the trip in case you're curious. Be sure to leave any questions or comments below and we'll answer those when we can. Peace out!